Pressing the button. Hello, Mrs. Ryan.
Hello.
Get situated in the what I'm going to call the new studio, even though it's the same studio. It's all new to us, isn't it? There we go. Welcome over here.
This is super nice.
Oh, it's nice. New headphones there. Courtesy of Telefunken, along with all of this other stuff. Let's see.
Super nice.
Dial in. We got some new lighting as well. Everything looks pretty darn good. Your window, Mrs. Ryan, looks fantastic. Mrs. Ryan got a new window. Used to just be sort of, it was a window painted on a drapery that was Velcroed onto the wall, and now we've actually built you a nice real window.
Yeah, you did
so
good.
You really go outside. You can actually go out there if you want.
Holy cow.
There we go. Let's see. So hello, good evening, and welcome back, everybody. Today is Monday, November 19th, 2018. My name is Jay Ryan. This is Nicole Ryan. We are the Ryans, and this is It's Tonight's Show. Thank you for being with us. We have a great guest tonight. Somebody we haven't actually seen in a while, but we know pretty well. We have Bradley Schwartz on. He's the president of the poptv network. He's also Mrs. Ryan's uncle. I don't know if we were going to talk about that or not.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm super grateful.
Yeah, it's pretty darn cool. Pretty darn cool.
I lucked out.
What's that?
I lucked out in the uncle department.
Oh, you've lucked out in a few, in a number of ways. You got some really good uncles.
Yeah.
All right, Mrs. Ryan, let's see. We've got a ton of stuff to get to and a very, very busy guest here today. So let us maybe just move on down the road. For the hellos, what on earth did we do this weekend, Mrs. Ryan?
It was busy. The Breakfast Club, I remember, and then
that's right. Yeah, Friday we went to Breakfast Club, and we, you know what? Actually, this will be good. Let's do. Instead, this will save some time. Let's play the videos as we do the hellos. We'll just go through them that way.
Cool.
All right. So on Friday we were at Breakfast Club, and I took a ride with Derek Whitaker in Stupid Car. We put a post about that the other day. I contacted Derek. This is a side note. I contacted Derek Whitaker this morning because he took some drone footage, and I was thinking, oh man, I just need a nice little button at the end of the video that I made. And I said, can I just take like a little thing or whatever? And he sent me the whole thing. And then it just felt like, I'll just play them both because his is only a minute long, and it felt like, why steal that when his whole thing was. All right, so first will be ours, but then we'll do Derek Whitaker. Roll it, Hal. We're in Stupid Car, going for a ride.
So initially,
you go, Mrs. Ryan.
That's fun. How fast were you guys going?
Oh, I don't know. I think the speed limit's 55 over there.
Yeah.
So somewhere around there.
I'm glad you enjoyed 55.
Somewhere around there.
Super
I was just
fun.
a passenger. But I will say this, that stupid car is, it's definitely a race car. I mean, that thing is fast and light and just planted. You would have loved it. It's if it seemed frantic, it didn't feel it at all. You could see my face. It was just, I was enjoying it. It was like a ride at Disneyland.
It looked really awesome.
It was awesome. And Derek knows what he's doing behind the wheel, obviously, too.
Yeah.
So you see a couple times where it looks like he's manhandling. It's like, that's just how you drive those cars. I mean, you let it get loose and it finds itself. So that was pretty cool. Yeah. All right. So he did some droning that day while we were up there too. It's not a whole lot of story here,
droning.
but he's droning. And I think I put it in here. Roll it, Hal. Cute, right? You know what I mean? Like, it's not there's not a whole lot to follow there, but oh gosh, turn on the damn lights. There we go. But he's so good with that thing.
It's really subtle and nice and
very
beautiful.
Cinematic, wonderful movements, very smooth. I guess what I'm getting at here is we combine forces and make some of these and make some really cool shit.
Yeah, I look forward to that.
On a TV show one of these days for The Breakfast Club. Can't wait to talk about that. All right, Mrs. Ryan, let's see. That was Breakfast Club on Friday, which we did, and I can't remember.
Saturday was off, but the firefighter benefit we went to
gosh.
is really, like, I keep thinking about it. It was such a nice day.
Yeah, good point. So everybody knows about the fires we've been having here in Los Angeles and California, rather. We've been experiencing them in Los Angeles as well, but California is just on fire, and it's still on fire. And the PCA Los Angeles region did a fundraiser they did a Cars and Coffee, which they always do. I think we talked about it last week. And this one happened to be a fundraiser for the LAFD Foundation. So they had the fire trucks there. They had the Dalmatians there. There were, I don't know, several hundred cars there. I mean, it was a huge turnout, tons and tons of people.
Yeah.
And it was great. And the only reason I'm not wearing my Telefunken shirt today is because I wore it yesterday and I was representing. This is a photo that I know I have to show it because I feel like a superhero in that picture. It wasn't posed. I was just talking to somebody, and then Paul Kramer from Auto Kennel took it. But we're out there representing Telefunken, which is pretty cool.
Neat.
Bringing us to Telefunken, we should probably talk about that. All new microphones, all around, all new audio equipment, new cabling, new everything, courtesy of Telefunken, Tony Fishman and his crew over there in Connecticut. Basically everything, your new headphones, everything shy of the mixer, all of our audio equipment is brand new thanks to them. So it's pretty incredible. We are very excited. Hopefully you can tell the difference. I can already see the difference in levels and stuff. And we're getting the name out there because we see a future here. We see a future here.
The partnership is spectacular. Like, I was talking to Justin, the music guy, about the alliance, and it's just
he's a big Telefunken fan. Yeah,
such a fan, and like kept telling me which mics, and I'm like, here's the thing. Listen to the show because it's so different. It sounds so good, but like the partnership of the Porsche thing, he had no idea about.
Yeah.
So to be able to show and spread the alignment of that is neat.
Because he's a professional musician here in Los Angeles,
right,
and a Porsche file, but didn't make the connection.
Right.
Yeah. So there's a big history there. We're bringing it back. That's the whole point, though. So I gave Justin some stickers the other day. He's going to put them on his guitar and car.
Nice.
And yeah, we'll go from there. Right now, we're just waiting away in the Jeez. Right now, we're just raising awareness for what this thing is and getting it back in our people's. I don't know. What would you call that?
Lexicon?
Yeah, I didn't want to say that. It's probably the right word this time, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's the right word. Lexicon.
I'll take it. All right, Mrs. Ryan, let's go over to Las Vegas. That's right.
There? Oh,
and
my.
check out what those guys have been up to. They had a little party the other night. Roll it, Hal. Bless you. Our guest just sneezed.
Do
That
not
was
be
awesome.
sorry.
Okay, so that was cool, wasn't it? And
Yeah.
then the only reason that we weren't included in that was because we were there the weekend before. That was the Tuesday, and we were there for the Cars and Coffee and to do the Der Fascination podcast over the weekend. So that's what they were all setting up for on Tuesday. Looks like they had a great time. Saw our friend Rod Emery there and some other familiar faces. Saw Shane does stuff. Kind of cool.
Yeah. It's a neat gathering, men.
Not too bad, right?
Yeah, good job.
All right, Mrs. Ryan,
looks good.
Check in with the East Coast feed. I told you there was a lot of shit to get to today.
Oh, my.
Come on over here to Steve Kaz Danbury Chive in the East Coast feed. Roll it, Hal.
Mr. and Mrs. Ryan. It's Casa de Kaz night. I have Dana behind me. You know Brooke. Glasses is new tonight. You know Mike. And tonight, we're watching Mole Rats, as you can see behind us. You know why? Because, Mr. Ryan, you sent me this Blu-ray with some love attached with an Amazon note. And it is in honor of the man behind us, Stan the Man Lee. Because he has passed away this week and sent some random love from Casa de Kaz, East Coast feed. Do you guys want to say anything? We love you, Stan.
We love you, Stan.
We love you, Jane.
We miss you, Stan.
Cool. And we miss Stan Lee. Brooke, anything? Nothing? You good?
Good night.
All right. Love you, Mr. and Mrs. Ryan. Have a good night.
Good grief. Well, there's that. All right. All right, Mrs. Ryan, it's time to ask the question that's on everyone's mind. What's going on?
Well, I found this interesting because I think it might affect people more now that there's so many more displaced animals running about with the fires and whatever.
Okay.
Sharp temperature jumps, though, that you find in like deserts or like changing of seasons, creates alcohol in the berries of a lot of plants.
Oh, yeah.
And so there's a
Fermentation?
lot of it is
Before they actually ferment somehow.
right. The temperature, like when it thaws out, like suddenly is like, oh yeah, ferment. And so there's a lot of animals that eat these berries and get a little drunk, so they look like rabid. Oh, sticker. So that's the first
You
thing.
sound great, Mrs. Ryan. You sound great. I just want everyone to know.
I think it's super neat. Heads up for animals that look drunk. They might be, but they're not rabid.
Isn't there a lot of stuff going on with that? Raccoons and all sorts of other things? Is that what you're
Yeah.
talking about? Because I've heard a bunch of different, it's popping up all over the place.
Raccoons and squirrels and coyotes and like things that aren't typically eating berries are hungry because they're displaced because they don't know where to go. So they're eating these, and the temperature changes so different and blah, blah, blah. So heads up.
Everyone's adapting, yeah.
Everyone's adapting. Elon Musk and the Boring Company have completed digging their first tunnel in Los Angeles.
And it's the Boring Company, as in like boring a hole.
Oh, is that? I didn't know that. I was like, oh, Elon's so witty.
He's so ironic.
I did.
Nothing interesting here, folks.
I did think that I am such a. Oh, the ditz is coming out. It's opening to the public December 10th.
Opening to the public?
Yes.
You mean just we can look at it, not ride the thing? Can we ride it? Is it a ride?
I think they can use the tunnel starting December 10th.
I think it's just under. Oh, wow. This is very exciting.
It's in Hawthorne,
That's where they did the test, by the airport.
But so they're opening it to the
Tesla.
public on the 10th, but they're also like exploring Chicago and other tunnels like to Dodger Stadium to like make it.
I mean, once you can just make tunnels, they can go anywhere, right? My dad told me if you keep digging that hole at the beach, you're going to go to China.
I heard that too.
Remember, you're going to dig in China. I don't even know if that's geographically correct from wherever we were in Connecticut or New York.
That's a good question. I don't know, but I'm curious. I'm so curious.
But what I
about
took
these
from that
tunnels.
was, if you were able to, you could dig straight on through.
I heard that he makes every logical point of it. He's already worked all this out, so I'm really curious.
Elon?
To see, yeah, I'm super
He
curious.
doesn't let
to see
the
where this
details
goes.
get in the way. A lot of people let the details get in the way.
He doesn't
He's not
let
one of
them
those
get in
guys.
the way, but he doesn't ignore them. Like he's not like I don't know what they are.
No, he processes them and doesn't let them get in the way.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of this guy, so can't wait to see where this goes. Lego is encouraging adult play with the new line of.
Oh boy!
Yeah,
I smell a Legoland for adults.
I know. I don't want to get too on board. I like the idea.
You do?
I like that they're
I'll pass.
encouraging.
It's called a puzzle. We have those.
Okay, but I like the sentiment rather, not the idea of this. This is crazy. This is like to display like people used to glue puzzles. And
Here's
like,
what I
put them
know:
on the
there are a
wall.
tremendous amount of adults out there who play with Legos, use Legos, operate Legos,
Totally.
buy the Lego, the packages of the limited editions and all the things. Our Porsche people are some of them. They have Porsche Lego things now.
Yeah.
It's not my thing. But meanwhile, when I was a kid, nothing I loved more than an erector set or anything where I could build Lincoln Logs, anything where you could use it was a box full of nothing, but you could make anything out of it.
Yeah. I did love
And I
that.
love that.
I had those, we had bricks that like we would build in the garage, like fake bricks, like cardboard.
Sure.
So we did those.
It's the same kind of thing. It's a nothing, and then you can make stuff out of
Use
it.
your imagination. I know. I like that they're encouraging adults to do it instead of just getting stuff for their kids. But I do see your point. I'm fighting it myself, but it's a neat idea.
Yeah, well,
look like
I mean,
fish.
whether you realize it or not, that was a Connecticut theme because Lego's based in Connecticut or up in Enfield.
Then,
Or used to be. I don't know if they still. I think they still are.
Well, then I feel better about telling this story.
Danbury Chive used to work over at Saturn of Enfield when we were young lads.
Oh,
Up there by Lego.
right. And then my last one.
Oh, look at you. Nice and quick today. Abbreviated.
Zipping it up.
Wow. Very impressive, Mrs. Ryan.
In a different kind of visualization technique, I was looking up like I gotta figure this out.
What? All right.
I gotta figure out how I'm walking. Like it's so it was so weird, and like I like walking near you at least. And this weekend I was not anywhere near you. So, but a lot of the techniques are similar to things I learned when I was at swim camps and stuff of visualization, even for the smallest thing, like how you walk, how you cut food, like how you do things.
Intentions, I believe, is everything. If you have intentions, you almost can't help but visualize.
Well, I was really bad at it then, so that's holding strong now.
I don't think you're alone. I think most people are. I think I'm the rare one who was good at it and didn't know he was good at it until later in life. And then you realize, oh my God, look at all that stuff that you manifested when you were a kid simply because you were alone and thought about it all the time and drew it and obsessed over it and on and on and on. It's kind of like once you know the secret, it's kind of almost impossible to not live it.
I know you say it. I just like reading this article. I was like, wow, they did tell me that at different swim camps all the time. And I laughed a lot.
But the context didn't make sense to you at the time.
The context of like it visualize your race like makes sense, except my whole thing, as you always tell me, I get caught in the details. So I was like, who's next to me? Who's in that lane? What are they wearing? Nightmare. So this is a reminder that I can go really far in and visualize how to walk instead of the whole race.
And that's been What's Going On? Mrs. Ryan, you are a delight. That was fun. This is fun doing this with you. I missed, we've had it's been almost a week off because of how the days have landed. I'm really excited to being back in a week of shows, or most of which.
Yeah.
Three shows this week, folks.
Big
but
one,
there's
yeah.
only 3 days because it's Thanksgiving and then Friday.
Yeah.
One thing I want to mention though before we take a break is that Mrs. Ryan changed her your Instagram handle, and you should tell people what that is.
Stories for Always.
Used to be
Nicole in L.A.
no longer.
No longer.
Yeah, but you can still
Upgraded.
type in Nicole Ryan or whatever. However you used to find it, it's probably good.
Yeah,
But it's-
that's still there.
But it's Stories for Always.
Yeah. I'm going to add some of my writing stuff in there more obviously. Use it as the tool that it is.
Bravo. Bravo.
And use it for some of my writing in addition to the show.
You're doing so much behind the scenes and nobody, gets to know it or see it. So if you transition this into a forum for you to, put a little bit out whenever you want to, at least you have a place where you could if you wanted to, versus doing a daily blog or doing a this or placing this or
Yeah, I realized through some of the process that writing a book is not like writing a blog. So I have to alter my framework of how I think, of how I writing a chapter is not writing a blog entry. It's different. So
yeah.
I'm approaching it all different.
All right, Mrs. Ryan, I'm very happy for you. I'm very excited about
Thanks.
all that. I give you huge kudos. Also for getting through a crazy weekend because we did some physical stuff this weekend.
So
and
much
you
fun.
handled it really well.
Thanks.
Let's take a quick break. Let's get our guest in here, Bradley Schwartz, to tell us all about Pop TV Network and everything that's going on in cable television.
Cool.
He's the man. See you soon. More to come after this.
I'm so drawn to my girl, I'll do anything for you. Call you every night and give you flowers too. I think I like you, think about you all the time. And asking every day that you'll forever be mine. I wanna
You are married.
Well, you know.
And we're back.
Oh, hello.
We are back. Hello, everybody. We are here with Bradley
Where
Schwartz.
do I look? Where
Well,
do I
it's up
look?
to you. We've got, I mean, this will be your camera technically
All right.
right over here.
Okay.
And that's your shot, if you want to know.
I see.
And then we've got all this
My
here.
hair okay? I didn't check.
Oh, you
I
look
didn't
good.
check
You
my
look
hair.
good. You're always stylish. You're the most stylish network president I know.
I usually wear white, but I was told not to wear white.
I think you look
I usually wear a
fabulous.
crisp white shirt, but you know, TV.
Mrs.
Boring.
Ryan loves houndstooth on
I
the
do.
Porsche world, and I'm going to call this very tight check similar to houndstooth.
I
Tight
was
check.
gonna say something.
I read the
enjoy it.
instructions. It said no. It said wear dark clothes.
Darker clothes, better for
Darker
the set.
clothes, better. Yes.
If we had a
I
real,
learned that a long time ago.
real
Be a
studio.
young adult.
Yes.
If we had a real studio, maybe that wouldn't be an issue. But now that we're shooting on iPhones currently,
I love it.
contrast
I
is
love
an
it.
issue. Bradley
I
Schwartz,
love it. Yes.
you are here in our studio. What do you think?
I absolutely love it. It's amazing what you've done here. It's like I've
man.
worked in a lot of live studios and at NBC and live daily shows in my past that we've produced, and this is as good as any I've seen.
Oh, that means the world, man.
It's amazing.
That really
It's
means the
amazing.
world.
And I bet it looks bigger on the screen than it does right here.
Yeah, there you go.
That was
There's
the
your
thing when
wide.
when I worked at Saturday Night Live, that if anybody came to the show, people were like, "Wait, that's how small it is?"
Yeah.
Like you have no idea how small the set is at Saturday Night Live until you go see it.
Yeah.
Because on TV it just looks like you're
Magical.
in
A
this massive,
stadium. It's like a
massive
stadium.
stadium
Yeah.
of places.
Well, we should
Anyway.
start. That's a great place to start
Yeah.
because you and I both started our careers on different floors of the building, but
Mm-hmm.
at the same place, Saturday Night Live.
That's right. Where were you? What floor were you on?
Well, I was on 9,
Okay.
on
right.
8 and 9.
Right. You were.
It's production PA.
Yeah, you were a PA.
Yeah,
That's right.
Production PA. So I was just like basically a runner, coffee guy, cable puller.
Right.
Like,
So
an
I-
apprentice for almost every union in the building. Basically.
So I was kind of the same thing, but just for Lorne Michaels. I I started my career as Lorne Michaels' assistant at Saturday Night Live, and that's where I learned TV.
Wow. That's amazing to me. How long ago was that? Can I ask what year that was? Because did we figure this out? Were we ever there at the same time?
It was. Yeah,
hope
this,
not.
this dates me. No,
my
it was.
sake.
I was the luckiest guy in the world. It was 1992, and it was an election year.
Oh, wow.
And nobody does political humor better than Saturday Night Live.
Oh my God! Wait, we
So-
were watching this show then. This is when.
So it was
Huge.
1992. It was the Clinton, Bush, Perot. You had the third, you had the third guy running.
Forgot about
And Dana Carvey was playing both.
Yes, and the cast that year. You know how Entertainment Weekly puts out their Best Entertainers of the Year award? Like the number one entertainers of the year that year were the cast of Saturday Night Live. Like number 2 was Spike Lee, number 3 was Madonna, but number 1 was the cast of Saturday Night Live. And I think it had something to do with me being there.
I'm pretty sure.
Of course.
But
Lorne was able to really do his best work with you on
but
it.
it was an election year. It was Dana Carvey, Mike Myers, Phil Hartman. Were the older guys, and then the young guys were Rob Schneider, Adam Sandler, Chris Rock,
Chris Rock, yeah, I was
Chris
gonna say.
Farley,
Yeah.
David Spade. Like the
This was the
people
heyday.
that grew to be our legends of comedy for our age.
Make yourself comfortable. You don't
Yeah,
have
is that
to-
okay?
Yeah, get comfortable wherever you. The old
so-
Letterman chairs, for God's sake.
I love it. So that was it. Was the cast was unbelievable. The young guys in the I mean, you worked with Chris Rock and Chris Farley and Adam Sandler.
Yeah.
It's
Unbelievable.
A
You know
game
Chris very
changer because it just changes your purview on the world.
But then we had Wayne's World making 100 million at the box office. Coneheads, Wayne World's 2. We were producing The Kids in the Hall at the time.
Holy smokes.
And then it was also the year that Letterman left for CBS. And
that was
NBC
only
went to
2 floors
Lorne
below.
Michaels. NBC went to Lorne Michaels and said, "Here, create 12:30." And so,
Weeknights. We're giving you weeknights.
yeah, so that's yours to go make a show because Letterman's leaving. So I was Lorne's assistant during a political year, the Entertainers of the Year, the Kids in the Hall, movies, and creating the Conan O'Brien show from scratch.
I don't think
pretty
people
rad.
realize how significant each one of those things you just mentioned was at the time, let alone as a list. It sounds nice, but
So
each one of those things was huge.
So I got my MBA in television in 12
Yeah.
months. It was amazing.
That was, this is the desk they were building for Letterman when he went to go do that shit. Like that's the era. This is from '93.
I was asking
And the
about
chairs,
that when
too,
I
the
first
same
walked
thing.
in. I was like, "Where'd you get the desk?" It's amazing.
Well, a lifelong dedication to the subject.
That's right. That's right.
As you know.
Yes. Indeed.
That's crazy to me. The whole Conan O'Brien element. Were you were obviously, I'm assuming, there for all of it. As I remember, being only in the public at the time, watching all this stuff and reading every article and every book, everything that was on the subject. Everybody had that job for a second. It seemed like it was going to be Gary Shandling. Seemed like it was going to be Dana Carvey. Seemed like it was going to be
Dennis Miller.
Yeah, Dennis Miller. I thought would have been good.
Chevy Chase.
Again,
Yeah.
so many people.
It was so Lorne had, and this isn't any secret. It's in the book and stuff. I mean, Lorne has 3 assistants, right? And he's got like the important assistant. He's got the assistant that kind of does all the important work with the important assistant, and then he's got the coffee and matzo ball soup assistant, which is like me, right? My job. I got popcorn and coffee, and then also had to, if anybody sent in unsolicited materials, I was the guy that sent it back to you. So
sorry with the sorry note
so
and an SNL pencil.
But you get to learn television from Lorne Michaels, and you get to be there late night with the writers in the writers' room writing the sketches. You get to, I was the guy, I was like a production rat, like even if my day ended, I would stay till 3 in the morning with the writers.
So you did do that. That was me
Yeah,
too.
if they needed me to order them pizza or like run downstairs and get a delivery.
You just wanted to be there.
I just was like soaking it all up and just being there and just working hard and being nice to people and learning TV. But to get back to what you're asking, so
this is all what I'm asking. I'm taking all of it in.
Right.
This is me now.
They,
I love it.
They
These
gave
are all the
Lorne.
stories we don't want to ask you at Christmas that we want to
There we
know
go.
so
Okay.
badly.
All right. Good. All right.
Totally.
Let me know when I bore you. So Lorne was given 12:30 at night, and we all had to sign these non-disclosure
NDAs?
agreements because I would be privy to sitting in Lorne's office late night watching test tapes with, like you said, 7 or 8 of the biggest stars that you would imagine were up for this gig. Like we put people in the studio and tested it, and nobody would want to know that they tested for it and didn't get it, right? So it was all so secret.
So political.
I wonder if I can even talk about it now. I have no idea. But I was learning television,
It's
watching
almost like it was
Lorne,
easy just to go with a nobody.
Yeah, there's
watching
nothing, no
Lorne.
strings.
Totally. Watching Lorne create this show, not just find the talent for the show, but hire the producers, or when Max Weinberg got the music part of it, and Jeff Ross was brought in
Ross
to
was in,
produce
yeah.
it. It was just amazing watching the whole I learned so much just watching the show come together from scratch, watching the conviction that Lorne had when we decided on when he
Well, you were there though. I understand. When you guys
decided
consulted,
on,
sure.
on Conan. And look, I've always said this about Lorne Michaels. He's the Yankees. He's the godfather of modern comedy. There's no better picker of comedy talent ever in history. And even in those years where you have a rebuilding year, he always gets back to the World Series. He's the Yankees. He always brings it back. And in picking Conan O'Brien, I remember a cover of a Variety that said "Late Night with Who," right? And it's like, who showed you? Who showed you?
Yeah.
Lorne was right again.
That's
again.
crazy. That's crazy. Such a history there. So did you work anywhere else in 30 Rock, or was that just you were?
That was it. I
Did
started
you
at
explore
Broadway.
the building and all that stuff?
I started at Broadway Video at Lorne's production company. I was a marketing intern for a minute, and that's how I got over to Saturday Night Live to work directly with Lorne. And I was an NBC employee. I was working at Saturday Night Live up on 17, and then
in the offices.
we'd go down and work out of the studio office Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays.
That's so cool.
Did you stay for the rehearsals and stuff?
Oh my God, I was
knew you were a
21 years
sponge.
old. I was
The-
Oh, you had a Heineken in the green room then, probably.
100%,
in
or an
Lauren's
Amstel
office.
Light, or an Amstel Light, or during Christmas Anchor Steam. I'm like, I can remember it all.
You remember? I remember all
it
the
all.
secret fridges were on the 9th floor and all the
Yes.
offices down
So
the hall.
I filled those fridges. That was
so funny.
Hilarious.
No, because during the dress rehearsals, all of Lorne's guests would be in his office because he had those like sliding doors
right next to the green room, yeah.
So I took care of all that, and I remember, God, hosting everybody back there. Making sure they had whatever they needed.
That's so cool.
Or when Paul McCartney was there, making sure that there was no meat.
Yeah. How about just that you
Can't
have a
be
Paul
any meat.
McCartney story?
Right.
Yeah.
I have a couple of good Paul McCartney. But no, it was like Paul and Linda are coming up. Get rid of all the Chinese food. Get rid of it all. And I'm like
What a
racing
riot.
to get all the stuff out of the
That's
out of the green
hilarious.
room. Just that there was no meat anywhere when Paul showed up. When Paul and Linda showed up. So
All right. Well, from Saturday Night Live, and
Yep.
you're now a network president. So, I mean, there's a heck of a jump in there. You did a bunch of stuff. Should we start with the fact maybe you're Canadian?
yes, I am. Which I think was also why I just loved and respected Lorne so much. Because it was like.
Is he the most successful Canadian of all time?
Well, we do have Justin
might be.
Bieber. We do have Bieber
God,
and
wow.
Drake
It's
Yeah, I forgot about
immaculate.
that.
and Alec Trebek.
Oh, Alex
He-
Trebek's a good one.
You know,
Yeah, Michael J. Fox too. I guess
But
there's a lot.
but in
Didn't know
working
he
for
was
Lorne,
Canadian.
there's always this, because he's Canadian and because he did what he did and made it, to where he made it, that in my eyes he could do no wrong, and I just wanted to learn, and be the next Canadian that might dream of having a career like that. I mean, you think of he now has not just Saturday Night Live, but The Tonight Show, and Seth Meyers. I mean, he has 2 hours a night on NBC, 5 nights a week, plus an hour and a half on weekends.
And the SNL prime
Plus,
times.
when he had 30 Rock, he had a couple hours in prime time. Who's producing more of NBC's schedule than Lorne Michaels right now?
Yeah, he's had late
amazing.
night locked up.
So,
Well, he's usually got a hand in everyone's stuff. Like, I know he's super involved with anything Tina does, so that's where the 30 Rock stuff comes
but he
from.
never did. He never, everyone went off and did their movies and stuff, and he just, he wanted people to fly. He kind of just wanted to do a show. He was never, kind of signing, making sure people couldn't do other things.
Oh, no, yeah.
But that was, so anyway, getting back to it. So as a Canadian, I just always
Right.
had this admiration and respect for Lorne, and he could do no wrong, kind of in my eyes, and I just learned and learned and learned.
I don't even know if people remember Kids in the Hall, but Kids in the Hall was one of my favorites, and it was groundbreaking comedy at the time. And I later worked with Dave Foley on News Radio, and it was wonderful for me to just be near somebody who I admired to that extent.
Yep.
Were you also a fan of Kids in the Hall?
Massive fan
Okay.
of Kids in the Hall, and it was great because working for Lorne, I'd get all the scripts. They were shooting that
Wow.
week, and so I got to meet all of them. They were all great. Mark McKinney went to my high school.
No kidding.
So I knew all of them, and I've seen probably every episode of Kids in the Hall.
So good. I'm the chicken lady. So much stuff. I don't want to get stuck on that.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Kids in the Hall does not come up much, and then you actually were, around that. So, all right. So, what did you do? Where'd you go? How did Saturday Night Live turn into getting into the corporate side and climbing the ladder in the way you have?
I went back to school after my year apprenticeship at Saturday Night Live, and
So you did all that shit in a year? All that stuff was in one count?
One year, 1992. And then I went back to school, and what was great is I went back to school with knowing exactly what I wanted to do. So every
good.
course I took, every class I did, I could kind of attach it to what I wanted to do. If you were taking an entrepreneurial management class, if you were taking a communications class, whatever it was, you could apply it to what I know I wanted to do, which was entertainment, music, TV, movies. So when I got out of college, I did that. I became a commodities trader.
Wow. Did
I
you know
didn't
that?
No.
Yeah, no, me neither. I was like, wait, what?
So with all of those dreams and
no
aspirations,
idea.
and spending the last 2 years at school just applying everything to the entertainment world, I graduated from Wharton. And what do you do when you graduate Wharton? You go
to
be
business, something,
you
right?
can be a commodities trader, or an investment banker,
Hilarious.
or consultant, or something.
Downtown.
And I was also
Go
Canadian.
downtown.
I was also Canadian. Needed a work visa, so there was that. So I did that for 2 years and realized that was just not what I wanted to do. And
Were you good at it?
I'll tell you what. I worked at this company in Philadelphia that was just very diligent about detail and client relations, and reading every letter and every word of any email you send out before you send it out. They were almost like, it was back then, you weren't doing emails, you were doing letters. You'd have 2 other people in the office read your letter before it sent it out.
For proofing.
Just for proofing.
Whoa.
So it was, anyway,
That's deep.
It was really I learned, I think, just a lot of business kind of attention to detail, which was great. But I left there. It's not what I wanted to do. And I started managing bands on the side in Philadelphia. And
Did that process fine-tune? I'm sorry to stop.
Yeah.
Did that process fine-tune you though? Because somehow that that
the
type
commodities trading?
yeah, because all of a
100%.
sudden it really does hone you, even if it's not what you want to do.
100%. I think if I've had some success in this industry, I think a lot of it is because of the mix of left brain and right brain. I think I've always been a very creative person. I love talent. I love creative people. I love that side of you guys. I love all the people I've gotten to work with and make shows with and all of that. But I also have this side of my brain that went to Wharton and was a commodities trader and understands business and leadership in that way. And I think when you think of the great executives in our industry, they have a little bit of both. So yes, I think being a commodities trader certainly helped hone those business instincts, while the kind of creative instincts you have in your body.
I didn't mean to get stuck there. It seems like it would sharpen you up. That type of having somebody working at that level where that you're going to do it really well because you got two people cross-checking you.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden you are sharper. You're like, my own machine is working better here, and I just assumed that would work everywhere.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter where you go. That's a good thing.
Yes.
All right. So then, how did it happen?
So
we know you didn't like that.
While I'm doing this job in Philadelphia, I started managing bands on the side, and I worked with a band called Corey that got a deal with Arista. Worked with a band called the Red King that got a deal with Sony. All of a sudden, I'm like the guy in Philadelphia with 3 bands signed to
real labels,
real record deals of some kind. Now, none of them went on to anything beyond that, but I started to have this little kind of roster of bands that I was working with. And I was done with commodities trading, and I went back to Lorne Michaels, and I said, I've got these 3 bands. And by the way, the guy who ran Broadway Video, Jack Sullivan, who has also been a huge supporter of mine over the years, I said, I've got these 3 bands. We're signed to major record deals. Here's what those economics look like. I need a work visa. Can I come do my little music business as part of Broadway Video? And they said, well, I don't know if there's enough of a business there for us, but we're working on these comedy albums. We're working on a Jimmy Fallon comedy record. We're working on a Norm Macdonald comedy record. Maybe we hire you. You come do that and can also do that. And
that sounds amazing.
And
sounds like a huge opportunity.
So I was like, yes, I will.
Done.
Done.
I'll take it.
That's right. So I went and did that, and that eventually became, Lorne invested in this college television network called the Burly Bear Network. Do you ever hear of that?
No. Is it up in Canada?
No, it was a bunch of like stoner kids from Vermont that started this, and they were so ahead of their time. They started this college television network called the Burly Bear Network, where they made 4 hours of content every week. So one was like a music video show, one was a cooking show. That was their big show called Half Baked, where they would basically cook meals like as if you were living in a dorm and you only had certain types of stuff that you could use to make whatever.
Crazy.
There was a prank show. There was all these.
But they filled a schedule.
They filled a VHS tape with 4 hours of content. Would mail out 400 VHS tapes to 400 college campuses across the country.
This is crazy.
Those college campuses would play it on their local TV stations and would have to sign a Nielsen affidavit saying they did it, because we would bake ads into it all.
Holy
and we would
smokes.
just need you to guarantee that you aired it.
Holy smokes.
And that was the Burly Bear Network.
What an incredible idea. And then they're out there.
Wait, Paul Scheer worked at the Burly Bear Network.
No kidding. We know him.
David Mandel, the showrunner of Veep, worked at the Burly Bear Network. I mean, these were all like, this was Lorne Michaels College Television Network.
When was this?
No idea.
1990.
Because he was doing Tom Green was telling a similar story. It was all VHS, and he would send in tapes. And so Lorne just so many cool things came out of that time.
9/11 was what year?
2011.
2001.
2001. Right. Okay.
Sorry, 1.
So that's the year. That's when I was there. I was there for about 3 years, but I remember being in the office when the planes hit. So that's how I.
Yeah, that's a timestamp for you.
That's a timestamp. We were all in the conference room watching it.
Jeez.
So yes, around that time. But anyway, that's all these digital companies before they were ever digital companies. That's YouTube before
Yeah.
YouTube.
These are the
That's
podcasts
we
and-
were creating
It's
these,
this,
like,
really.
you know, and just sending it out on a VHS tape.
That's so cool.
Where if back then there was internet, you know, that you could stream video on, it would have been BuzzFeed or whatever.
So wild.
It would have been one of my College Humor or any of those kind of comedy digital brands. So way ahead of their time. And that was a ton of fun. And again, now I'm learning more about TV.
All right, so somewhere in there, one thing led to another. You went
Yep.
to Fuse, do I have that right? You went to MTV.
So yes, we can speed up now. So from Burley Bear Network, MTV.
Well, because I
was-
want to get to all this. You've
Yes,
got so much
yes, yes.
current
I'm
stuff.
sorry. MTV was looking to launch a college television business based on the success of Burley Bear and CTN, and they made MTVU. And that's what kind of brought me over to MTV, where I eventually actually went up to MTV International. We're launching channels around the world until they said, hey, we want to launch one in Canada. And they looked around the room and they said, well, do we have any Canadians here? And I put up
Just
my
the one.
hand and they said,
Great.
do we have any other Canadians in the room? And I said, no, I think it's just me. And they're like, okay, you go start MTV Canada. But what was great is those were the years at MTV where, you know, Judy McGrath and Tom Freston and Bill Rohde and these people would just take young kids and throw them in deep ends and say, go
figure it out.
Start this business. And so I moved up to Canada and started MTV, and that's kind of, I've been running networks ever since.
You and I had a great conversation once, very candidly, in your office about that experience, and you said that essentially you started that network with a title, and you had to then find offices. You had to literally start. You started with your cell phone because it's like the first call to call the person to help you start it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they said there was no business plan. There was no P&L. There was nobody hired. There was literally.
It was the kid from Canada. Go up there.
No, but they said there was one really cool thing. The company, because, you know, there's no media ownership allowed in Canada, so it was this other company that was launching MTV with Viacom involved and licensing it to them. So this Yvonne Fitzon, the head of the network up there, who also became an amazing mentor to me, has meant a lot in my career. He had bought this building that was this old concert hall. And like when I was growing up in Toronto, it was where we would go see concerts. It was this old Masonic temple, but it was this legendary music venue. It would be like one of the most iconic and legendary music venues in Toronto. Led Zeppelin's first show ever in Canada was in this room.
Oh.
The Who played there. The Grateful Dead played there. Like it had that kind of
Those old
history.
Masonic temples are typically very Gothic in style, the architecture, so it's a lot of like castle-y type of stuff.
And when it was built as a Masonic temple, it was built with a stage on the first floor in order to help make money to help, you know, subsidize dues to the
Amazing.
Masons.
That's amazing.
Anyway, so Yvonne bought this building with these tremendous music roots in it and gave me the keys to the building and said, go start MTV. No business plan, no staff, no anything.
Just go.
Here are the keys to the building. Go.
So it starts here then, right?
So
It starts up here with
So
whatever
then
you
you're
get
like,
going.
wait, I was a director of marketing. What are you doing giving me these keys?
That's how the best stories go.
It was, I'd never run a network before.
Isn't that incredible? But
Anyway.
then, so but that's it. I mean, it starts from there. Like,
Yeah.
oh wait, we need office equipment.
But that's it.
we
I
need
think-
people.
Again, it was one of those situations where, you know, what you don't know, you learn. And just through hard work and instinct. And I would be in the office till 2 a.m. every night. And
Yeah.
just figuring it out. And, you know, I remember, because remember I was in MTV International, so I was friendly with all the MTVs around the world. I was thinking, I'm going to contact the GM, the president of MTV Australia. It's like an English speaking, about the same size. You know, I was like, there's some similarities to Canada. I was like, could you send me your org chart? You know?
Did he?
Just to
That's
see.
so ballsy.
And
I
he
love
did.
it.
And I'm like, okay, so I need like 8 salespeople. I need 3 marketing people.
Totally.
That's amazing.
It's just like, okay. And then my strategy was easy. I'm going to hire each head of each of these, like
For
a
as
head of
little as
marketing,
possible.
a head of ad sales, a head of each of the, and then let them worry about hiring their teams.
So that at least you had the business
It was the
background.
thrill
to
of
know
a
how to do it.
lifetime. It was a thrill of a lifetime
Awesome.
building something like that from scratch and then having it work and be successful. And then some people even thought it was one of the best MTV channels in the world. And it was good. It was a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
amazing.
And then so you've done that a handful of times since. You've ended up at Pop.
Yeah.
When Pop was not in existence.
No, it was the TV Guide Network.
Correct. For everyone else out there, it was literally not
Oh,
around.
yeah.
You used to
Right.
watch the guide and the scroll and everything.
The joke I
Totally
like to
forgot.
say, it was a network that told you to go to other networks.
Yeah, that's right. Sure. Here's what's on every other channel but
That's
this
right.
one.
Our goal is to send you away to some other
Hilarious.
channel. So let's turn that into a TV business. Let's change that.
So it was literally nothing.
Literally.
Now everybody knows what it is.
Well,
so
I
how's
think we
that?
still have a long way to go, but I think Schitt's Creek has put us on the map in a big way.
Okay, how's that? I don't know anybody who doesn't know what Schitt's Creek is, and that started on Pop.
It did.
I can't wait to tell that story. We'll get there in a few minutes.
Okay, we'll get there in a few minutes. What else?
Well, no.
Oh,
Oh yeah, I guess so. All right,
to
so
go into my Schitt's Creek story.
yeah, then you know what? Go ahead. Sure. Well, that's a good story though because it comes around and it started elsewhere. So let's get
So we went back to the story when we were starting MTV in Canada, and we built up the team, and now you got to start hiring your VJs, hiring your hosts that are going to be the face of your network, and we did a cross Canada search. And hundreds of people. We eventually found like these 7 faces that were going to launch MTV in Canada and be our on-air talent. And one of those people was Dan Levy. And Dan was amazing. And as we launched MTV, Dan became a huge star in Canada. We actually produced this show called The Hills After Show, which is the first after show of its kind. When we launched,
The Hills was the show on MTV, and you're doing
yes,
an
and
after
we
show
were making
on
a
that.
show after it, and it was funny when we first
Hilarious.
did it. People made fun of us. They're like, "Wait a second,
We don't need more Hills.
you're making a show that
Wow.
talks about another show? That's ridiculous, right?" But if you think, I mean, it was a precursor to Watch What Happens, to all the Housewives after
Talking
shows,
Dead, all of them.
Talking Dead.
Yeah, that's one of the
I mean,
biggest.
we pioneered that
The genre.
format. But Dan and his co-host Jesse made that a huge hit show, and they were on the covers of magazines in Canada. They both became huge stars, and MTV US started being like, "What the hell's going on in Canada with this show that everyone's
Really?
talking about?"
That's pretty cool.
And they called us, and they started taking our show live from Canada to MTV US and started airing it after The Hills in the US. First time in history that any show in Canada has broadcast live to the US.
Wow.
We get all your live shows.
That's something.
So that was a really
That's
huge
impressive.
accomplishment for us. And we were like, "Oh my God, we have a show on MTV US."
That's
it was
huge.
amazing. But anyway, Dan,
All right, so Dan, by the way,
Yeah.
is making a name for himself, but he comes from a famous family.
yes. So his father is Eugene Levy, and Dan, left MTV Canada, came down to LA to find a career, be an actor, be a writer, whatever. And he had this idea for a show, brought it to his dad, Eugene, and Eugene and Dan brought it up to Canada, to the CBC, and said, "We have this show idea," and they pitched it, and the CBC were like, "Yes, we're in, we love it, who wouldn't want to be in business with," and they had Catherine O'Hara
Attached,
as
yeah.
well. So you have Catherine O'Hara, you have Eugene Levy, you have Dan, and you have this amazing idea. And then, CBC were paying a certain portion of the budget, tax credits take care of a certain portion of the budget, but there was a hole in the budget. So they kind of needed somebody from the US or anywhere to kind of come in and help fill up this hole. And I guess I was the only head of a network that Dan Levy knew back then, right? And he and Eugene came and brought it to us, and they said, "Here's the idea." And in the room, we said,
To
"We're
you
in."
specifically.
Yeah, and in the room, we were like, "We're in." I've bet on Dan before, and it worked. And here was an opportunity to kind of bet on Dan again. And also, I mean, couldn't you just listen to Eugene and Catherine read
All
the phone
day.
book
All
to
day
use that
long.
All
cliche?
day.
100%.
So you're like, at worst, it's going to be critically amazing. At best, it's going to be some breakthrough hit. And Dan was a first-time showrunner, first-time producer, first-time.
So he ran the show
Acting.
too?
He's
I didn't realize all
a
that.
super force of nature, and he's so passionate about it. He does the wardrobe.
Really?
Like, he spends time on eBay searching for the type of wardrobes that Catherine O'Hara's character
Seriously.
would.
Good for him.
So
That's
Good for
awesome.
him for having that passion and that focus.
I'll remember, one of the pieces of advice is that I once got from Yvonne. We were going to produce a show in Canada, And it was a big swing for us at MTV Canada to go do this very expensive show. And Yvonne said, "Who's going to live and die for this show? Who am I calling at 4 a.m. when I have a question about this show? Like who?" And I've never forgotten that. And I've noticed that any show to be successful, somebody's got to be there being the guy that is so passionate about it that he's the guy who's going to live or die to make this thing work. And you just knew Dan was going to get it there. I felt the same way about, Billy Eichner when I was at Fuse and we discovered him and greenlit Billy on the Street. It was
No
the same
kidding.
thing. It was a guy that had this idea. It was his. He owned it. And by the way, I have had 3 o'clock in the morning conversations with Billy Eichner about his show. So I've always found that those have been the shows that have been the greatest successes in my career, where there's somebody that is going to go across hot coals to make sure that every detail is perfect and that this show, he's going to will it to success.
Above and beyond dedication.
And I think
Sounds familiar.
Schitt's Creek to me is the best comedy on TV, but really one of the best shows on TV. I've never seen character development over 5 series of any show in history like this one.
Is Schitt's Creek, I have to assume I know the answer, but I would like to ask anyway, is Schitt's Creek a point of pride for you?
It really is. It really is. Not that I can say I've been that creatively involved. Dan and Eugene. What am I going to do? I'm going to tell Dan and Eugene what's funny.
You guys need more ha-has.
I've got a note here. Going back in history, I remember when Netflix first greenlit House of Cards, right? And everybody was bidding for that show. And House of Cards, Netflix did. Remember that stupid? They were like, "Here's $100 million, 2 seasons,
it was the biggest buy ever.
2 series guaranteed."
Yeah.
We realized we've never done original content before. I'm gonna have to overpay. I'm gonna have to do everything just so that HBO, nobody else gets it. And they just went into the deep end and did that. And I remember Ted Sarandos saying, he's like, "What? I'm gonna give Fincher notes, right? Like we're also gonna give these people creative freedom to go do whatever." So I haven't been creatively involved in Schitt's Creek, but what I have done, and I always do this, is you've got to create an environment where creative people can go be creative and have rope and put themselves out there, and you never want to exec anything to death. So
man, are you?
Yes,
Schitt's
Creek is a massive
Breath
source
of fresh
of pride.
air.
Yeah, this is
Massive source of pride for me.
Canadian.
And
wonderful answer.
and I'd love to work on 8 more projects with Dan.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's
High
nice.
praise.
Yeah.
Good for you. God, that's like we should go to a commercial on that. Gosh, that was awesome.
I just want to go back to the bum 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 bum. Where's the button that's? Remember you earlier when you were doing the news thing?
That's me.
Oh, that's you. That's not
Yeah.
I'm kidding. I knew it was you, but
No, it's a whole thing. Meryl Marco wrote that, though. We found out afterwards, unintentionally.
Totally unintentionally. It's almost the same. And so when we message, I'm like, I don't know.
We did it as a joke, and it turns out, like everything else, it's been done before. You have a fantastic family, and we're almost out of time. I'd be remiss if we didn't at least talk about your beautiful kids and your wonderful wife, because you really do have the whole package.
We're very blessed. My wife and I have been together. We've been married 12 years, together 16 years. We have these 2 great little kids. They're 6 and 5. A little girl named Mazzy, a little boy named Fallon, and they're amazing. And it's a lot of fun. Not to self-promote, but last week I was given this nice honor. I was recognized to be part of the Cablefax TV Hall of Fame, which was very nice.
Congrats.
Congratulations.
And went up there and I got to accept the award, and I got to mention all my mentors in my life that have kind of helped me get there, from Yvonne Fitzon and Suzanne Boyce, from Lorne Michaels to John Feldheimer and Les Moonves, but my greatest mentor in life, my wife, Karen, who has just always inspired me to take risks and go be great. And she hates every show we've ever made.
Fantastic.
And, even if she secretly likes it, I think she just lays it out there from the first moment that she hates it.
That's
great,
though,
so that I'll try harder.
You're always going for
I
that.
gotta try harder.
Absolutely.
It's a women's job to find fault in everything.
I told that night when I was up there on stage, I told this one little story where, we had moved out to LA We had taken over TV Guide Network, rebranded to Pop. And that year, Cablefax puts out their list of the 100 most powerful people in the industry. They're power players, I think they call it. And I got into this list for the first time.
Whoa.
And I was like, and I was so excited about it. And I told my mom, and I told my dad, I'm like, my God, this is a big deal to be recognized as one of the 100 most powerful people in your industry. And then I'm like, oh my God, I need all my friends to know. So I call my wife and I'm like, can you post this to your social handles, you know, so that all of our friends know about this recognition I just got? I mean, I can't. That's egotistical. That's like, hey guys, look at me, right? But you, as my wife, you could do it.
Supportive.
Right? You could just be
It's
the
supportive.
proud wife, right? You just be the proud wife and post this. And there was like this beat, and there was this breath, and then my wife turns to me and she says, "But honey, you were number 78."
Quite frankly, that's pretty good. I was like, if you just made the list for the first time, I was assuming 90s.
Right?
Seems like to crack the list. If I had a song out and I
So-
hit Billboard at 78 first out, I would be stoked.
Right? You see Karen do that. You're like, but honey,
She's so not
I
like
love
that.
you. I
Such a
love
good
you,
perspective.
But you were 78.
It's such a good
so I'm
perspective.
like, well, shit. I gotta get up to the top 20 apparently. So I got a long way to go.
I was
before,
with you, man.
Before I'm like tweet worthy of my wife.
She popped my bubble too. Y'all popped my bubble too. I thought it was great.
Oh, that lady. I'm so glad to be related to her.
Yes, she is my everything.
You brought up something I don't want to talk about it too much, but it is obviously the landscape has changed quite a bit in the world.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be fair to say just television, but you are a high-ranking person in an industry that is the focus right now. How are things in the landscape of Me Too?
I mean, obviously, our industry's been hit hard by it, but you know, for me personally, I've always thought of myself as like a feminist. I love, you know, how independent and how much of a pain in the ass my daughter is, because I feel like that's what you want. You want strong, independent women. I think being, you know, running
Out of a daughter, certainly.
Right. Running MTV, running Much Music in Canada, being in the music and youth business for so much of my life. I feel like you have to almost think like a 16-year-old girl. I've been accused of thinking a lot like a 16-year-old girl.
Yeah.
I think, you know, creatively, that has always served us well. But, you know, all I can do is speak about, you know, myself and our team, and, you know, our head of distribution is female, our head of consumer marketing is female, our head of press is female, our head of integrated marketing is female, our head of scheduling and programming is female, our head of research is female. It's like we have. I feel like women are better at our industry, at entertainment than men. Just better creative instincts and all of that stuff. So, for me, it's unfortunate, you know, what's happened out there in the industry. I think you have an industry that's sexy by nature. You know, people put good-looking people up on TV, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So you mix fun and sexiness, and you know, some things can happen. But
well, it's aspirational. You know what I mean? All of a sudden, oh boy, look at that! I want that.
But for me personally, I'm very proud of always kind of being a feminist, championing women. When I've had female assistants, they've all gone on to other great jobs and great careers, and I love that. I love that when I look around our senior table in meetings and it's majority, you know, female. If you discount at Pop TV our like engineering team that kind of just, you know, gets our channel to air, we're a 50-50 company, male female. If you don't discount the engineering team, we're 40% female. So you know, I'm proud of that, and I'm proud of the voices that we champion. You know, if you think of Schitt's Creek, which we were just talking about, it's like one of the only pansexual characters in all of TV, and there's a relationship on that show between Noah Reid and Dan Levy, and that is just a beautiful, loving relationship that doesn't matter that it's two men. And I'm super proud of that there's just that it's not a weird thing. It's just love, a loving relationship.
Loving
There's
compassion.
no difference between. There's another relationship on the show that's between a man and a woman, and it's treated no differently. And I love that. But we have a show called Flack coming with Anna Paquin starring in it. It's an all-female cast, and it's really a show about women solving problems. And I think 99 times out of 100, that show is men solving problems. I think like what made Killing Eve such a huge hit last year is 99 times out of 100, that is a male serial killer, and it's a male person from the FBI or whatever trying to catch that male serial killer. And there was a female serial killer, or not serial killer, assassin, and a female, led team trying to capture it. And that's amazing. And so I love that in Flack is the same way. 99 times out of 100, these are going to be men solving these problems. And this is just an entire cast of women solving problems. That's exciting. We have a show called Click, which again is an all-female cast, female creator, female writer, female showrunner. And then later in 2019, we have a show called Florida Girls coming up, which is from probably friends of yours at 3 Arts. You probably know a lot of the 3 Arts people, but an unbelievable comedy from the mind of Laura Chin, who helped create and produce the Mick on Fox. Did you see that?
Oh, yeah, sure.
So, and it's again an all-female cast, female director, female writer, female creator, female everything. And so
you guys seem to be ahead of the curve. It's almost like you were young enough that you built your network at a time that was already
and I don't want to stand up on
forward
stage
thinking.
and being like, we are going to be a female empowerment brand. I just,
You won't be successful if you say that.
you don't want to just do it.
There
I
you
feel
go.
like your brand
Just
is
do it.
authentically your brand. It's not
That's
about necessarily
70% of the people that watch our channel are female, and just, champion female voices. But you don't have to be up there on a pedestal going, I'm going to champion female, but just do it.
Just do it. Stop with the words.
Yeah,
Actions.
just do it.
Good for you, man. That's awesome. Do you have anything for us? I just want to wrap it up by saying you're awesome.
We have still a long way to go to awesome. No, I love you guys. I appreciate you guys having me on. I have a lot of fun, doing what we do. I've always just kind of felt blessed to be around creative people. And I've always thought of my job as just being the guy that climbs to the highest mountain that he can find and gets the loudest megaphone that he can find and then just yells about their work. That's my job. My job is to take your art and yell to the world about it and make sure it gets noticed. And whether that's been with Billy Eichner or with Schitt's Creek or with Degrassi or we gave, when we were at Fuse, we put Amy Schumer on TV for the first time.
Wow.
Like, whatever it is, just give creative people their shot and their chance and champion it and
That sounds incredible.
yell from the highest mountaintop about it. And that's my job. And
You're
then
incredible.
people come and find it. And
Is Pop looking for a high quality, low budget late night entry?
we have a lot of shelf space.
we'll
We'll
talk.
take a shelf.
Now I know why I was brought here. Now I know.
Really?
You are awesome, and thank you for taking the time.
You
we do
guys are
appreciate
awesome.
it,
And it's been wonderful.
You took some good advice that sounded early on, and I love that you give it all the time, which is just do good things, be kind.
Work hard, be nice to people.
It's amazing.
Good things will happen.
Bravo. Awesome. Well, Bradley Schwartz, for goodness sake. Mrs. Ryan,
Yeah.
what do we have tomorrow?
Tomorrow
Got,
we
oh.
have Jimmy Jelinek.
Yeah, Jimmy Jelinek. Who is that, Mrs. Ryan? Oh,
he-
boy.
I know him
This
through
was
a
one of
friend.
your bookings. I know, but he's a guy who he's
producer,
incredibly
he's
successful
a-
on podcast producings, etc.
Yeah, I know. He went to TV Guide channel for a minute. I don't know if he's still
Seriously?
there. Yeah. So
Oh,
There's
weird.
synergy this week.
Yeah, that's interesting.
yeah, I don't know if he's. I don't think he's still there. But
okay.
yeah, he'll be in tomorrow.
Anyway, we had a meeting with this guy when we first were starting Life with the Ryans at the dining room table. When this first, we didn't know what the heck even our intentions were. And it seemed like this was the guy who could really help us along the path, but we didn't know what the hell our path was at the time. Now we've sort of built something. We're going to have him in here and see what we can do.
Love it.
That
He's
kind of
been following along. He's super excited.
Really?
Yeah, he wants to put his hands on it.
Oh, get out of here.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
this
and-
is an exciting time to be us then, Mrs.
Yeah.
Ryan.
Here we go.
So that's what's going on tomorrow. Right now, I love you. We love you very much.
Love
Thank
you.
you for
Love you
being here.
guys.
We love all of you at home, and we'll see you tomorrow.